Good morning, Maria, back with another video. It's 6:23 a.m. Thursday morning. I believe it's May 10th, and I am on my way to work. So I just thought I would do this quick video before I start my day. I was thinking last night, as I was laying in bed, which I didn't actually fall asleep till after midnight last night. I mean, I had a lot on my mind that was just kind of going on and on, especially after I have, been thinking about this issue for a very long time, piecing things together. Really, I was thinking about how, some people, a lot of people, have this God complex, and I think there's a lot of people who like, positions of leadership in organizations because they feel as though they have some right to be tyrannical. They could inflict harm on people. Basically, a very polished looking bully is basically what it is. And they feel like, they've got this kind of power and control when they demonstrate that they're working outside of the regular guidelines that have already been established, and they tend to ignore them, In this situation, I can see, and I can tell you multiple situations that I've been in, since leaving the farmer's place, actually since leaving Karen's place, that I've seen this played out, over and over and over again. I was thinking about how, and I mentioned several times in my videos about how common narcissistic behavior is, how, people have this need to control people. And, that's really what's the root of it. But in the meantime, while they, are expressing this sort of outright rage and this sort of anger and this hatred and this, need to control, they're demonstrating their lack of intelligence and knowledge on what they're supposed to really be doing. If these people had the qualifications, the skills that they were supposed to have, this would have never happened. It's just, when I think about the number of targeted individuals that are out there, then they need to come to the realization that basically it's their employers that are putting them in this situation. Their employers and their families, and the combination between the two can literally be deadly. That's what people need to understand. It's that, and really, when you think about it from a legal standpoint, it really falls on the employer, because the employer has established guidelines, especially if they have a company handbook, especially if they have that. Especially if they have managers that have been trained on this issue. And in this case, in most of the companies that I've worked for, there has been some sort of, claim that they've had training for their managers. But I've noticed, as we can all tell, that none of this really matters, because it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Just like most of the skills that they acquire, they kind of take it in, and they don't really understand how these rules apply. But really what the root of it is narcissism. It's like they like these positions because they like power and control and this idea of prestige. What I liked about being a manager is that I like the idea of creating structure and setting a positive tone for a workplace. And I also believe that I have strong leadership skills. That has nothing to do with me wanting prestige or power. It has everything to do with me having the proper ideals and skills to be able to do that. But anyway, that's a story for another day, or a topic for another day. I mentioned several times in my videos, especially in my earlier videos, before I understood what this whole picture was, okay? Like I said, there's still parts of this picture that I can't quite put my finger on, but I do believe that I have the gist of it. And really, when I think about how far back this goes, it's ridiculous. But when I'm painting the entire picture of, a family's intruding into the workplace, the employer has to take responsibility for it, because an old granny, for example, an old granny or your aunt or somebody, especially from an older generation, is going to have really no idea you know, that what they're causing is a problem. I mean, I'm still putting the blame on my family because I do believe that their attacks against me were always malicious, okay? Just based on the situations that I would encounter and the issues that would be brought up, which were always petty and stupid. You know, still, it does lie on the employer. And the employers, my point was, as I'm getting off the subject, my point is that, you know, I mentioned several times that, you know, I believe that people need to pay close attention to personalities, because personalities matter, especially in, you know, people being in positions of the head of an organization. And because, you know, you don't want to have a narcissistic person running and ruining your company. And unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of them there. You know, there's some people who really do enjoy working with other people. There's certain people who like to implement certain things. There's certain people who have great strategical thinking, and they are great contributors to their company. Most of the time, these narcissistic people are bullying people because they really are trying to hide the fact that they don't have the actual proper skills to do what they're supposed to do. So that's one of the reasons why they still take credit from other people, why they point the blame at other people, why they get involved in gossip, and they try to create political, what do you call it, they get involved with, or I should say, initiate office politics, and, you know, start making people take sides, when something like this in an organization should never exist. This is the very thing that tears an organization down. So yeah, I mean, it is. It's based on what people have as if it's God complex. They like to feel as though they're the controllers of somebody else's fate. Really, once an employee leaves a person's place of employment, that employer should already have it in mind whether they're going to be a reference for that person, a positive reference or a bad reference for that person. Okay, and generally, you know, it should have always been that case where once a person leaves that company, sometimes they receive their letter of recommendation right then and there, or whatever, you know. And it's not supposed to be, well, let me follow you to this next place so I can check you out at this place, so I can, no, it has nothing to do with that. Each place where you are employed is where you are evaluated, and once you leave, you're gone. Okay, so anything outside of that is a form of it's harassment, basically, is what it is. So you get these people who think, well, you know, I'm a manager, or I'm an owner, or I'm this, I'm that. You know, their title seems to blind them to, you know, what they're supposed to be doing, and they have to follow the law like everybody else. So the issue relating to targeted individuals is really basically having a job nowadays can be very dangerous to your health, because you've got these people, especially with things like the speed of the internet, gossiping, social media, all of these issues combined is creating a major problem. So look no further, okay? Like, for example, people are like, well, I don't recall doing anything. Most people don't recall doing anything significant, okay? But it could be something slight, something really petty, like in this situation, and then it gets blown out of proportion. Anything can get blown out of proportion because, like I said, people are just waiting to bully somebody. But this is basically what it is, you know. So when are employers going to start paying attention to these issues? Because they're basically putting somebody's life in jeopardy through their own incompetence, you know. And that's what it is. It's like, you know, it's a very serious issue. I remember when I was first getting interested, you know, I would say, I don't know, maybe I think I was like in my mid-20s when I started getting interested in office administration. And I remember reading about how confidentiality was like the utmost importance, especially for people who work in, you know, human resources and stuff like that. And I've noticed that there's a lot of loose lips in organizations where, you know, like you got somebody who's a manager and they're, you know, commingling and gossiping and talking down to subordinates, and they're talking to their subordinates about issues that could be very damaging to the company, but they don't use that. They don't think about that. You know, it's important to never go down the chain of command, you know, because it tears down the structure of the company. And yet these people just do whatever they want. You know, it's it is terrifying, because this is what's causing the problem. These targeted individuals, it's a combination between your family and your employer, or somebody that they perceive to have an authority, okay? Most of the time, you can trace it back to family and an employer. Pretty much sure, okay? No matter how nice your family's acting in front of you, and they're inviting you over for holiday dinners, this is the issue, okay? And so you have to start thinking about, how you're going to basically tear away from the abuse. And I do encourage people to go no contact. You need to send a message that this sort of behavior is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to try to dictate somebody's life, especially when you're an adult. It's not acceptable for an employer to follow you from place to place. It's not an acceptable thing for an employer to sit here and say, well, I'm going to designate this particular person in your family to choose your next job or whatever. It doesn't work like that, okay? It's illegal, okay? And this is what's causing the targeted individual issue, is people who are not qualified to do their job. And look around, you'll notice that there's a lot of unqualified people in these positions, and you're wondering, how did they get it? And it's what I said before. It's basically people using office politics, using issues like religion, using scapegoating tactics or whatever, to gain favor within, organizations and certain structures. Very few people are getting by on really having any sort of strong contribution, skills or knowledge in the workplace. When I think about, like, for example, the mayor who got involved in this, who happens to be an employment lawyer, it shocks me, because it's like, how in the world can you not know these things? How in the world could you let these sort of things slip by? Obvious things, okay? Now, some things I would say that you'd have to really go back into your memory bank, or even have a human resources guide, or like, one of those reference guides with you, okay? But in this case, this right here were like the main ones, the main employment issues that are stacked on every wall. And when you see these people ignore it and participate in something like this goes to show you that people really don't have the skills that they say that they're supposed to. They don't have the ability to use logic, reason, and their so-called, acquired knowledge, regardless of what they say. If you have a master's degree and you participated on this goes to show you wasted your money, or you got a grant or whatever, or somebody wasted money and time, because you're not as skilled as you're supposed to be. And this is my point. This is it right here. HR, or somebody who's in charge of a business, whether that be the manager or whatever, they're supposed to run a tight ship when it comes to certain things, and this is one of them. So you got to be careful. So the future of this country, I don't know. I know that a lot of companies are not as not productive, but it seems as like, we have issues relating to strengths of companies. A lot of companies don't really hire people full time anymore. Benefits are not as plentiful as they used to be, so on and so forth. But I also think that there's a lot of problems as far as like the American workplace. There's other countries that are experiencing this too, but it's just really lower standards. People have lowered their standards, and they don't follow the protocol. So which leads me to believe, like, what's the purpose of saying that you're certified, or you have this, or you have that, if you really don't know what you're doing, okay? So once again, we're falling back on social status. A lot of people think, well, I went to this particular college, therefore, I have all this status, and I'm supposed to be looked upon like I'm some pillar of society. Once again, you're basically bragging about something that you're an idiot, is basically what it is, okay? So I'm shocked, and I'm flabbergasted, because this is the real world that we live in. This is the world that we live in, and your employer is the root of the problem. You know what I mean? Of course, your family. You're probably scapegoated from your family, and given jobs or assigned jobs by them, and basically being threatened, bullied at work, you know, because your family's too cowardice to come right out and do it themselves. And then you got these employers that think, well, this person's your family member, and that's where it becomes a big problem, because your family members do not own you, okay? They don't have the right to interject what they want, what they think, force you to live a certain lifestyle, force you into certain religions or anything like that. They don't have that right. But no legal right whatsoever. So these employers are basically creating the problem. So that's what it is, okay? And pretty much, I would say 90% of it is that issue right there. So when you start thinking about how many targeted individuals there are, not just in this country, but around the world, we have a very ignorant society. Big time, you know. So, you know, some employers have this attitude where, you know, well, you know, it's my company and I can do what I want, and that's okay, you know, to each his own, to each his own. So basically you're saying is that bullying people is okay. It's okay. It's your choice if you want to bully. It's okay if you want to basically put somebody in a situation that's very close and similar and resembles genocide. That's okay. That's our choice. We choose to do it our way. Well, you know, then you've got to be careful. You've got to watch your back 24 hours a day. Think about that, okay? Think about it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I've got some things to do today after work. I got to go run and get some groceries. Not much, though. I'll tell you that. Finally starting to get over my cold here. But, you know, I think about this issue on a daily basis because it clouds you. It really does. You know, it's like I was persecuted for something I had no knowledge of. You know what I mean? And really, when I think about it, whether I had knowledge of it or not, it's not a work issue. You know? And this is really something that, you know, I'm never going to get over. I know it, and I know it. I realize that I'm never going to get over it. I'm never going to get over the irate behavior that was demonstrated by the employers. I'm not going to get over the fact that I was brought in for interviews and being harassed over it. I'm not going to get over the fact that, you know, Joel's family is a bunch of sickos. I'm not going to get over the fact that my family scapegoated me. I'm never going to get over that. I'm going to have to deal with that for the rest of my life, you know. It's like and it's hard. It's very hard, you know, and you wake up and you think, okay, well, you know, I want my life to get better, and you wonder how, you know, that's what goes on in the back of my mind a lot of times, you know. So every day I just have to sit here and think and be thankful, you know, that I'm alive another day is all I can say, because there's a lot of people who, I personally think a lot of heart attacks are created by employers, bullying employers. You know, a lot of the diseases that we have, our body starts breaking down and becomes weakened because of the strain that these people put on you, and because they got the wrong people and the wrong working for them, and they don't think about it. But it matters, you know. It matters. It matters who you put in those positions. It really does. You know, I don't know. I can't stress it enough, but bullying is never acceptable, you know, and there's no justification for it. So anyway, the God complex, that's basically what it boils down to. So I'm almost close to my destination. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I really do think targeted individuals should pay attention to what I'm saying, because that is it. That is it right there. That is it, okay? The government could care less about, I mean, you know, the governments do get involved in it to a certain degree, okay? Like certain lower levels of government. But for the most part, it's a very, it's like community type stuff, basically, which it does spread out. What I'm saying is it's not something that you didn't do anything, the government's out after you. It's your families tied in with your employers, and your employers are breaking the law. That's basically what it is. And that's all it is, really. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. Think about what I said, and I'll be back with another video some other time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.